Hello and welcome back to the 5 Days of December Book of Shadows Challenge. So today is day 2, and if you are watching this video and you're not a part of the challenge, don't sweat it. I think that this topic is still going to be really useful to you. You can still use the journal prompt for yourself, and you will be able to join us for the next challenge. So stay tuned for that. Today's topic is the rebirth of the year. So in the last video, we talked a little bit about how the winter solstice is the darkest day of the year. It's where the sun only rises, not that high into the sky, and then it sets a few hours later, and it's just like mostly night that day. Like, it's a very, very short time of sunlight. And then after that point, it starts to, the days start to lengthen again up until the summer solstice, when it's the longest day of the year. So the concept of the rebirth of the year is something that has been repeated over and over again throughout every culture throughout human history. And basically it's the idea that as the days are getting darker, the sun is kind of in its last leg of life, and then around the winter solstice it kind of is a death and then a rebirth. And that's kind of why we celebrate the new year on January 1st, which is a little off, but it's so close to the winter solstice that it does make sense. Basically, it's the time when the sun has finished a complete cycle and is starting a new one. So that brings up this concept of rebirth. And like I said, if you look into winter solstice or wintertime celebrations in most cultures around the world, you can trace it back to this idea of death and rebirth, including the whole Christmas story about Christ dies and is reborn and that sort of thing. If you've never researched the, what is the word I'm looking for? What is the word? Astrotheology. If you've never researched the astrotheology of Christmas, I highly recommend that you look into it. It is really fascinating stuff. But not to get into that really deep, confusing historical and mythological approach to things, we're just going to talk about the simple concept that, as humans, we can use the sun as our marker for how to approach the rest of our year, which is obviously what the concept of manifesting with the wheel of the year is, which is what I'm obsessed with. So I do tend to think of the winter solstice as my new year. I do celebrate, if somebody takes me to a New Year's Eve party on, what is it? December 31st to January 1st, I will go and celebrate that as part of the celebration, because I kind of tend to celebrate the whole season. It doesn't have to just be on one specific day, but to me the winter solstice is the new year, because that's when the sun is done doing its one thing and it's getting started doing its next cycle. So it just seems like the time that makes sense. And I think that the best way to take that concept and work it into our own journey is to do some kind of a ritual where we are releasing the previous year's burdens and the previous year's expectations and whatever, and creating just that empty space for a couple of days around the winter solstice, and then slowly beginning to open ourselves up to something new, something fresh, emptying yourself to let the universe fill you, so to speak. And it's a great time for visualization of any kind, meditation, journaling, as always. Always journaling. It's a great time for both shadow work and light work, because shadow work has to do with release, accepting what isn't working or what has passed away and is no longer serving, and then creating that space to to transform that energy into something that propels you forward into the next step. It's extremely important. This is a really, really huge part of my Wheel of the Year practice, and I would love to hear what it is that you do for this time of the year. I know that some people just kind of celebrate winter solstice time as a time to celebrate and be with family and decorate and just be cozy. That's a great way of doing it. For some people, that's that like spiritual recharge that they need in order to, you know, step into the new year feeling good about themselves. Other people like to spend a lot of time alone around the winter solstice and just do their self-reflection or just plain relax and be in their own energies so that they understand who they are and where they're at as they move into the next year. You know, there's all number of things that people can do. So I just wanted to bring that topic into our challenge because it's the perfect time to really get clear on what does this rebirth time of the year mean to you. A lot of the time we just kind of let it pass, you know. We just go through the motions of whatever our traditions are, and we don't really think very much about exactly what they mean, or maybe we know what they mean, but we don't really integrate it thoroughly into our being as we're moving forward through the season. So I wanted to take this opportunity to do that. So today's journal prompt is the concept of rebirth around the winter solstice. What does that mean to you? What does it mean, or what do you do to evoke that concept in your life? Do you have any traditions associated with it, or are you starting something new that has to do with the concept of rebirth? Again, I don't want to give you too many ideas because I want everybody to just let their intuition flow and see what comes to them when they think of the word rebirth around the winter solstice. So I'm so excited to see what you come up with. You will have about 24 hours. I say about because, you know, whenever this video gets posted, you will have from this moment until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning to go ahead and post your picture of your Book of Shadows page in our group on the proper thread. And yeah, I'm super excited. Like, we're already seeing some gorgeous pieces of artwork and writing coming out of this challenge, and I just can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. So I'm gonna run along and do my journaling now, and you can run along and do your journaling, and we will convene in the group. So thank you so much for being here, and until then, brightest blessings.